The independence of the judiciary, the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka, the National Police Commission, and other key bodies has been deeply eroded by the recently adopted 20th Constitutional Amendment. The policy of forced cremation of COVID-19 victims has caused pain and distress to the minority Muslim and Christian communities. Successive government commissions have failed to credibly establish truth and ensure accountability. The latest Commission of Inquiry, appointed in January 2021 to review the findings of previous commissions, promises to repeat this cycle without meaningful result. My office stands ready to continue monitoring the human rights situation, including progress towards accountability and reconciliation.
Sri Lanka rejects High Commissioner's report, which is unjustifiably broadened its scope and mandated further, incorporating many issues of governance and matters that are essentially domestic for any self-respecting sovereign country. It is regrettable that the High Commission's office published its report, accompanied by an unprecedented propaganda campaign on it, and refused to publish our comments on the report as an addendum. Sri Lanka calls upon the members of this Council that any resolution which is based on this report be rejected by the Council and be brought to a closure.
United Nations member countries, including the United Kingdom, the European Union, Norway, Canada, Germany, Russia, France, North Macedonia, Australia, Philippines, Switzerland, Venezuela, Japan, Netherlands, India, Korea, Pakistan, the United States of America, Iran, China and Maldives expressed their stance on the report of the UN Human Rights Chief on Sri Lanka today.
We are concerned about the prominent lack of impartiality shown in the OHCR's report on Sri Lanka and express our regret over the failure of OHCR to take on board the authoritative information provided by Sri Lankan government. The so-called preventive intervention and the proposed targeted sanctions contained in the report are clear interference in the internal affairs of Sri Lanka and oversteps the mandate of OHCHR.
While appreciating the assurances by the Sri Lankan government to allow funeral rites to all religious minority amidst the ongoing COVID pandemic, we urge for early implementation of this commitment.
We are concerned that this report fails to ground itself properly on contextual realities, particularly the challenges of addressing the grave threats of the pandemic and terrorism to Sri Lanka's 21.3 million people. We note that despite challenges, the government of Sri Lanka actively pursues reconciliation, accountability and human rights through domestic processes with all stakeholders.
We also feel it is important to note Sri Lanka must itself, without external pressure, determine the priorities for action and the areas which require international assistance. Only in that way can the measures truly be effective.
We believe that respecting the rights of the Tamil community, including through meaningful devolution, contributes directly to the unity and integrity of Sri Lanka. We call upon Sri Lanka to take necessary steps for addressing such aspirations, including through the process of reconciliation and full implementation of the 13th Amendment to the Constitution of Sri Lanka.
We are also concerned at the increase in surveillance and indeed harassment of civil society actors, the militarization of the civilian governmental functions, and the impact of the government's forced cremation policy on different communities in Sri Lanka, particularly the Muslim community, who continue to face persecution.
Civilian government, an independent judiciary, civil society space, respect for human rights, democracy and the rule of law are all being undermined.
We encourage Sri Lanka to ensure its legal framework, including counter-terrorism legislation, is in line with international standards.
Concerns were raised on matters relating to media freedom in the country as well.
We are concerned by accounts of increasing marginalization of minority communities and shrinking space for civil society, including independent media.
The UN Deputy High Commissioner for Human Rights expressed her views as the final speaker of the session.
We sincerely hope that Sri Lanka will remain engaged with the Council. I think we are all on the same side here, long-term peace, and that is why this Council has invested so much effort and time into providing the pathway that was laid down in Resolution 30/1.